think that's we understand the point. I
You
think.
have to understand where he's coming from.
I understand, yeah.
For years, we argued about this, and we were told it couldn't be changed, and that's it. Our last meeting, we were first told now there may be an option to be flexible on that. For the first time, we were told that. We were told it was a done deal. There's no way it could ever be done except the way it was being done. So we were frustrated because it was a concern we thought weren't being heard, but we understand now it's being heard.
It's being heard. I don't know
that's
I don't know if there's a solution that's gonna make everybody happy, but I think, we plan to look at it. The thing is, the benefit of having this, you run it it's really about interference. And one of the things one of the ideas is, hey, can you during the peak, if you're doing every, say, 7 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is to Brooklyn during the peak, can you squeeze trains in, so now, and if that's something they can do, I think that's the idea.
For us, it's people who have the ones who don't have to transfer all of them.
Yeah, I understand.
Part of it,
But there's a lot of far Rockaway and Hempstead that are going back and forth all day, and it's something they like. But the flip side is, if you're working down at 2 Broadway, are you going to go into Grand Central? Now you're on the 4 line. It might be a little easier to go down as opposed to a Penn, where you're not going to your right outside your door. So it's a little bit of.
It's interesting you mentioned 2 Broadway. Actually, between Jamaica and 2 Broadway.
It's easier to go through Brooklyn.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
Take more than
yes,
one.
well, you do it.
I do it every morning, yeah.
Not just but if you use Google, who calculates this stuff, they'll have alternate recommendations. Sometimes it's better sometimes it's better even the subway. But if you use Google, they give you suggested things as well as an Uber alternative.
Well, the new MyMTA app will have, it'll show the exact down to the minute, so you can calculate. But going on the 4 from Grand Central down, and Second Avenue, so it's less crowded. Those are decisions people have to make. But they told you, they heard you, so they'll take a look. I have not heard whether it's feasible. If they had told you it wasn't feasible in the past,
Well, the issue, I don't want to relate to this, but some of the issue really has nothing actually to do with East Side Access. It has to do with the liability of service, and running direct service to Brooklyn probably does create some train interference issues right now. If they could run a school service right now, you'd probably increase your on-time performance of trains. People's time actually spent traveling would increase, and that's really, that's the way I've always seen this. So I don't see, the main line's the main line. It's 4 tracks, and that's not going to change with East Side Access. The coming west of Jamaica, you're going into the same spaces. You're just not going to have those Brooklyn trains coming,
making a move. Yeah.
Right, making those moves, so that helped, and it would help you today. So it's a balance, and I don't know if it benefits more people, or if it adds so much time to some people wanting to travel to Brooklyn that it's a bad idea, and I think that's actually the case. But that's Norm Brown himself and people on this council.
Well, we picked up Brooklyn commuters last summer, and some of them stayed. I think, just looking at it, you may have looked at the numbers, I don't know, but it looks like there's still some stayed going to Hunter's Point. So it's.
Yeah, I see every
People
morning
like options.
the Lex Avenue line platform is more crowded than it used to be.
But when you go down into we're talking about scheduling, what you look forward a few years, and we have an app, and you're looking at your schedules right now. The amount of panic, and I'm not at the railroad, but I'll be in discussions, and it'll be very much driven by, we got to get this done by X date because we have to print the schedule, and we got to do the thing with the that, and you realize a lot is driven by printing a document, where in the future it's really going to come down to, you'll have flexibility and you're not going to just change schedules on the fly, but you'll have a certain amount of flexibility that helps you in accommodating issues or projects that are put in place. You don't have to have 5 months advance notice to the planning team. There's a lot more, but right now it's a little bit driven by paper, and it's. I mean, am I wrong? It's so.
About the printing.
So.
Not the
Well, you'll hear.
Because transit. What I hear about transit is it's about the pick.
Well, that's,
The
yes,
union.
yes,
It's
that's,
about,
yeah.
it's people deciding with it, but I guess in the railroad, I don't know.
It's
if
about
that-
the pick too there.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
too, but,
Yeah.
Okay.
but but when you're making work schedules, say for third track, you gotta get them in for the
So that
September
we can
schedule.
print them and give them out, and how many people are reading the printed
Yeah,
schedule?
they're moving away from it, so.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
Anybody else on the phone? Any questions? Ray?
No, I mean, I apologize for being late, but no question at the moment.
Okay.
I just want to add one other thing. Rich was talking about double track and some of the work that you probably read about, people, you know, from Kankama and wine bands. But in the third track territory, even though, you know, there's a challenge with the neighbors and the villages, already Hicksville is really deep into a rezoning, which is phenomenal. I think that they're, you know, it's come a long way. Westbury's rezoning around the station, and even New Hyde Park is doing a rezoning plan that is off Jericho, right around the station. So between New Hyde Park and a little east of Covert, they're rezoning, which is currently very, you know, want to be manufacturing or something. So they want to. Well, there'll be more parking at Westbury, and Mineola, there's more parking, and they're building a lot as well, which is because there's decked parking being built, it allows for the village or, you know, for us to develop on some of the lots that are currently surface lots.
Will Lane be railroad parking?
Mineola is village parking, which is commutable, though, like where you have to sell it up to 12 hours. And then another lot that is railroad. And New Hyde Park, it's village, but it's for commuters, you can't restrict it. That's what our aim is, to reduce the restrictions
Well,
on.
that's the problem we all have.
Yeah, you know.
The wine bands,
So Deer Park, there's no restrictions there, but if I have a late meeting and I want to be a little closer and try to park in Mineola or something, the choice is limited.
Huntington would be my town parking, it's at least a half hour driving. The other ones are 2 minutes, 5 minutes away. Don't even need to be in that town.
Yeah.
So it's a problem.
Look, ideally, parking will be driven by a little bit by the marketplace. You hate to have any empty parking because it's being held for permanent parking that's not happening, people aren't there.
Sometimes the towns are okay with that because it keeps them,
Yeah, some of them are like that.
residents like not having outside people coming. You don't know the issues. Ryan, you have any questions about Hicksville since we're here?
No, I've been riding it more often, so I'm seeing the progress that's made, and nothing's come up, and no other fellow riders have questions.
On the platform. And
Yeah, the station
Yeah.
looks nice.
It's, the ridership there is incredible, the numbers at Hicksville. I don't think it's,
The only thing I was still waiting for was what I had brought up to you about additional signage, track call-outs and trains coming. Right now, they're so far apart that if you're in the middle of it, you look left and right, even with 20/20 vision, somebody couldn't see both of them. So just having them more frequent, and then also in that tunnel on the west side of the platform, that new tunnel with the additional staircases,
yeah,
having
a sign.
having a sign down under there saying which trains are coming on. Because if
So
you
what,
enter there,
the sign, the schedule, with the schedule, you know, the
Yeah.
track. Yeah, okay.
but you need one in that west. Because I would say probably once the lots become more full, there's more people going in that tunnel than the main
Okay.
stationary, where there's signs all over the place. You could go inside, there's ones at the bottom of the escalator. But if you're at that other end, there's so many people who go up just to come back down and realize they're on the wrong platform.
Okay.
So, again, our offer is what we can do to help. We're involved with Second Track out there. We're here to help get the projects through and done.
Put pressure on the Amtrak. That would be,
We are told sometimes to and sometimes not to. So we're here to help. But let us know. And we've testified at public hearings. We've been out and doing this stuff. And we're involved. So we're here to do it as long as we're asked.
east side access assumes a certain amount of work from Amtrak, and it's not breaking records even. It assumes that, but we need them to show up.
We've never been shy about our view on Amtrak's work, and our view that they should be reimbursed the railroad for the money that was laid out as well. We've never been shy about saying it.
And we've been, NTACC is working with the railroad, has them, and I think they've been pretty good about supporting the flag, because they're also stretched, but I think it's pretty good right now on that side, which is good. And then as far as the changes, that's also been an important thing that was identified. Anything that takes a long time, you're building a house for 20 years or 15 years, you're changing your mind on things. And new technology comes in, and you know what, this is a good idea. Well, it's slowing everything, it slows everything down. So we were just, unless it's a life safety thing, there's no more. You can't keep redesigning something just because. And as Rich was saying about the reason this date is so important, because if you want to stop, the money and it's, you got to stop you got to get to the finish line.
We have a construction car right here.
Yeah.
You gotta stop the bleeding.
Yeah, so you get to the finish
There's
line.
an issue with ticket windows, I heard that one. Logan already said we need all these ticket windows at Grand Central, but it's time to change. We don't need that. I mean, most of these are closed over here now. I don't think a lot of people, I don't see.
You're right,
You don't, because people use machines, or
I
they.
remember seeing long lines there.
Yeah, no, we pulled
Everybody's doing the
Yeah, I know,
app
right.
on the smartphone.
It's like going to banks, there's no lines.
So that,
Nobody's
yeah,
in banks.
I think that was put in. And
Yeah, I know, but I think they're gonna, they
being needed, you could,
Yes.
That's like, well, Grand Central's got a bunch of their ticket windows closed and nobody's noticed. They just go to the,
An issue that when we were there, this is 2 years ago, we looked at the escalators, are they gonna be the longest escalators in?
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be, yeah.
So we had asked,
London Underground.
what we had asked what the plan was, obviously, but it was gonna place down, people who are on there. At that time, we were told, I don't know, it's still in planning stages, whatever it was, but is there, I'm not asking you to tell us right now what it is, but has that been approached? A lot of people, maybe older people, they can't walk.
I was told
Yeah.
they have backup power.
They do. There'll be some kind of
So there will be a total, I mean, there's
UPS.
more than just one escalator. I think we get
so there's a number of banks.
Yeah,
So
so-
you'd have to.
Yeah, and we
but-
had
We saw it
this-
before it was built, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's.
Yeah, we had the same issue on the number 7 line. It's same kind of very long escalator.
Hudson
it's a
Yards,
steep
yeah.
wall, yeah.
And yeah, there are backup power that
Because
can get
obviously
everybody
we're
off.
coming from,
Number 7 line at Grand Central, it just doesn't matter.
we're coming from
Yeah.
stations, and
It's-
station here,
it's
and
deep.
stations,
It is.
where when an elevator escalator's out, it's out for a month. So that's, as from riders, that's the perspective we're coming from.
Well,
There is no
22
backup.
escalators,
There's
so
no backup.
we've kind of,
But the
built in
company,
that redundancy.
the company, I forgot who it is, it's not Schindler, it's somebody else, who installed the escalators also has the maintenance contract.
Yes.
So it's a double, they're going, suppose this is a good
They
deal.
have an incentive to do it.
And a very high level, a very high standard of repair. So,
Coney?
who was it?
That's one of the big ones.
Yeah.
It's still, I think,
Schindler
there's
doesn't
not a
have this
big
one.
number of options.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
like so many
People
things.
like a little.
Might as well, you're
little
right.
escalators to put in, right? And it's broken every other week. It's new. There's no backup power. So, that's the concern for drivers,
Yeah, well,
If
Lindenhurst
it's that
Station,
long,
yeah,
if
it
it's that
is,
high up, no one's gonna.
could be an issue, but it's nowhere near as
yes,
as
the
long
nearest
as the
is, yeah.
escalators at Sud Access.
That's my point. People are not gonna walk.
Yeah,
up.
that's got
They get swept
that.
out.
Mark would like transporters put in, what they could do with
Yeah,
cheaper.
beat me up, Scotty. I'd save an
Well,
hour and 45
by the
minutes
time
each
it's
way.
done, that technology may be available.
Yeah,
But then
we
you
won't
just
need the
go,
railroad.
then you just go to work.
Well, that would cut out, I don't work.
It'll be leisure travel.
Take a tremendous amount of energy to it.
Does anybody, any questions?
Who handles the quality control on these projects?
We have a quality control operation within MTA Capital Construction.
Because the concern is, we're not seeing it on some of the smaller projects,
So I mean, on a big project like this, we definitely wanna be
The
sure.
smaller ones are done by the operating agencies, and I'm not familiar with their process, but for the mega projects, that capital construction.
We just, again, when you see the small ones aren't working, and then you see the big ones, you just wanna be sure that the big ones are gonna happen when you've got this kind of
Yeah.
money, 'cause-
I mean, I would guess they have the same kind of internal quality control operation that capital construction.
Well, Jerry's point is it's not working at the railroad. That's the whole capital
Yes, I
projects.
mean,
He's taking pictures.
the railroad is the
It's
railroad,
happening.
you know, to the rider, the railroad is the railroad. I mean, to you,
Yeah, no, I
mega
understand
projects
that, yeah.
and smaller projects are two different beasts, but to the.
But it's all
to
the
the-
MTA.
You know, to the customer,
You're right.
it's all the same. And if you're somebody at Wantagh whose elevators maybe worked half the time, brand new elevator, since they put it in,
We'll be up
You
and
know,
running Saturday.
Yeah, but, I mean, the point I was making is I just don't know the answer.
Climbed out of the ceiling the other day, did you see
we
that?
just need to be assured that there is eyes on this stuff, that you're not finding out when you're finally done, oh,
So maybe
Damn,
Ryan,
there's all these
can you
cracks in
follow
our
up on,
platform, you know.
Of course.
Hicksville.
Dixville, yeah, and Wantagh. So, all right, just
So-
And they're
Ryan will
repairing it
follow
instead of
up on that.
replacing it, meanwhile it's new.
Concourse is somebody else, I think that's the Moynihan people that do
Just so you know, the Wantagh elevators should be fully functioning by Saturday, and they're asking the contractor to stay on board for 2 weeks to make sure it's functioning properly. That was a freak thing, it was a brand new, the motor
Yeah.
blew, so I understand the frustrations, but we'll follow up.
Okay, appreciate that.
Anybody else?
No, I think we're good.
Let him catch his train.
This is gonna be an early day for me.
We'll tell him you will get to him.
Yeah,
Sign you out at 6.
yeah, well,
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, very good.
oh, you're going to Floral Park?
Leave a couple
Yeah,
of cards
good
here
luck.
if anybody has any questions.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's usually,
I went there,
a lot of income.
I went to the first go-round, it was
It's a
10 years ago,
New York City job.
and Brian Dolan was the PR guy. He actually had young kid police driving him in the old station, stay with me till I got on the train. Well, I was the only guy that actually testified for it.
They don't do that for MTA board members leaving fare increase
They
here.
did the same thing.
So that's how bad that
They did
was.
the same thing with McGovern. They had to walk him out to his car, walk him out to the car in the parking lot.
Yeah,
And get him in.
but I'll never forget Floral Park.
Oh, yeah.
We'll drive you to the station, don't worry about it,
Yeah,
Jerry.
Take care, folks.
Bye, John.
Take care.
They used to have-
Good luck.
I'll see you at the next meeting.
Yep, thank you.
And we used to have regular visits from one of our trustees for whom the third track is no longer a problem since he passed away about 3 years ago.
They killed him?
Radigan, James Radigan, he died about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, you would've thought
But
it
he
was
used to come to like almost every other meeting he'd be there talking about how horrible this is. And how
You would have thought we could start thinking about these 7 levels of hell, you know?
Outside or something.
Yeah.
What's that go? It's like if you're outside.
Yeah, it
Somebody
might
will call you from outside. It's like, oh my God.
Maybe somebody may be driving and I don't get that.
Yeah. Their sound just turned
Is that
up.
hectic? Is that yours under there?
If you see something, say something.
Oh, you might see something.
That's my stuff, I just stored it down there, get it out of the way.
Okay, I'm gonna pass by my chairs report because everyone got it. Any questions, I'll take it. Ira, want to give us a board report?
No, I don't, but I will anyway. Yeah, service has been a big issue for us. In February, I think as we all remember, service was pretty bad, right? Just as a perspective as to what's wrong, it's not that, it's totally the reverse of what was in years past often, as a result of equipment failures. The equipment is performing better than ever. In fact, just, you know, the Dumo locomotives didn't fail at all the entire month of February. So, you know, the MDBF is much higher than, it's 247,000 miles, you know, on average, whatever, so the goal is 200. But every branch is below goal on time performance, on people's experience. I think it's pretty much like that. A lot of it is Amtrak stuff, a lot of it's Amtrak, but it's a lot of other stuff too, like engineering, unscheduled, whatever that is. It's been steady, well, actually, in March, it's dismissed as slight decrease, but there's been increases over the years. So we all know there was this plan Nowakowski had to really invest in a way in the railroad and try to address a lot of the causes of delays, to hire, in essence, hire more people also, to do better maintenance and some other stuff to do. The new president says he wants to take a second look at that. A lot of this stuff wouldn't happen until you start to get going until next month, so wait to see that happen. It doesn't mean service should improve anyway. I don't see certain things they're doing anyway which should improve service. We got the whole list of lists.
Yeah, the last meeting, yeah, the big.
To me, it was thankfully boring stuff, because that's the kind of stuff that usually makes service better, not glamorous, whatever it is, so I'm hoping that'll happen. I really have nothing, as just questions, I'll, answer questions, is the new equipment's supposed to be arriving at the end of the year.
The M9s?
Yeah, the M9s. And I think there's some other property. There's a little bit of, the M3s are not going to be equipped with PTC, which won't become an issue as far as FRA compliance. FRA compliance means the Long Island Railroad, the Port Washington branch has PTC in place. That's the plan. You're supposed to have one branch in place and all your equipment equipped, and you're working on the other branches. That's the FRA compliance. We'll probably make that. I don't think we'll make the MTA's goal is to have PTC on all the lines, and I don't know if I'd be hesitant to say we really need that right away, because in my view of PTC, it was a lot and not what the railroad really needed if you were going to invest all this money. So, I think that's not, it'll be in the paper, oh, this is a terrible thing, compromising safety, and it's not, because we have cab signaling with automatic speed control. So I don't, the places where we would need it, PTC isn't going to do anything for us. But my concern is the M3 is still keeping them, because they're in terrible shape. So that would be although as I said, average, those are the only things that are breaking down. Yeah. And it's more of an annoyance for the railroad than I think the M3s than anything else. So I'm not, and the PTC thing. My next thing would be to ask, as we go forward, the next capital programs, what can we do about Penn Station, Brooklyn Terminal, and Jamaica in terms of safety, in terms of collision avoidance? I think that's the next thing. That's what really we should have been working on while we're playing this federal game of PTC, because those are the places where you can really have a seriously bad accident because you're relying on the train crew completely. And if you look back, there hasn't much. Train crews are well trained and they do a very good job. But all you need is one guy having a bad day. We have and there's a lot of effort to. They're tested for sleep apnea, but that's not the only thing. They're human beings like everybody else. I go to court, I fall asleep. So what?
We had that when the other derailment. That was the issue we brought up then.
In Brooklyn.
PTC would not have.
Yeah.
No. Right. So I think,
and
and I think there is technology that isn't fully developed. They're looking at it for the sublane instead of this communication-based train control. They're looking at technology that they're only looking for transit. We should be looking at the commuter railroads. That's my next thing to start to push is for the next capital programs and see if they can move that ahead and do that. But service is still the issue. I don't know how anyone feels about what was last month. I haven't seen anything major. I ride short distances, so it doesn't often. And if there's a problem, I run away. I take the subway, which has its own challenges. But so I don't know if anybody think they've had like bad weeks, bad days on the railroad this past month?
Has there been some reconfigurations going on? Because my old train, I haven't been on it in a month or so to file it. They said over like the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden it's just been packed. They've been like, and I think on a couple of trains they might have like added Jamaica connections that might not have been there in the past. Not on that particular train that does Jamaica, but have they done some reconfigurations that would create more traffic on certain
schedule
trains?
change? No, I think no schedule change.
Not to
That would
my
be a schedule
knowledge,
change.
but I can look to see. So your train's just extra crowded?
But it said the 509 like for the last 2 weeks, just all of a sudden just got extremely.
Is there another train that's canceled?
I don't know.
Perennially? No, I'm just wondering, your train would be canceled because because another train's getting
That's basically the only game in town at that point.
Yeah, and that's an 8-car double decker, so I don't understand why that would be,
Is it the filet car?
I haven't been on that train for a while, so that could have been, maybe they.
It's the 509
Out of here.
Out of Penn.
To.
We'll look into it, see if there's
It's
anything.
beyond.
I could just bring up a lot of complaints I'm getting that I
Yes,
never
please
got
do.
before for the last
Short
6
trains.
weeks.
Yeah.
No, people, during rush hour, people bringing their bicycles onto the trains.
Really?
Yeah, I've been getting
Yeah.
pictures, people saying to me more than in the past, which is
Well,
causing.
they need to have permits and they're not supposed to have it during rush hour, ever during rush hour.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
see it
saying
more
when I'm
during
asking
rush hour
complaints, I'm
than
hearing them.
off-peak,
the
because I ride both. The bicycles, or even they have those collapsible bicycles, it still,
ones you can.
it still takes up.
Because I'm riding in New York City,
I've seen them on the
is
subway
this-
too lately too.
that's.
I'm glad people are biking. I'm glad.
And they think
But I
they're,
can't get on there.
they think they get the handicap area too with that, because people are getting up in order for them to have their bicycle. And they think like that's a bicycle parking spot
Yeah.
on the trains, if they're not just blocking the doors, which is worse. So now you're giving up 4 people in their seat for this bicycle.
Understood. Yeah, that's not supposed to be. I can just check to
But it's
see if
absolutely
others
during
are
peak training.
enforcing.
The folding ones are, the folding
Folding ones
ones
are
are
legal.
illegal. I mean,
Why are they
just-
biking
they're-
the full
One's
distance?
They're a piece of luggage.
Right.
Coming to the city to bike? You can't, how, why would you do such a thing?
Well,
I don't bike in the
It's
city
the
because I
last
don't think I'm
mile.
a good
It's
enough
the
biker.
last mile
I
issue,
just
yeah.
wouldn't
The
get on
first
a
mile
bike.
last month, yeah.
I wouldn't get on the bike in New York City, I'm not, I can't.
Yeah, somebody works over on the far west side, and they get on the bike at that station.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah, it's the first
the
mile.
big problem, at least this is just my view and my opinion for what I've seen. It's the culture of the railroad and the conductors. And I don't want to be opening up a big can of worms here, but the conductors don't want confrontation. You mentioned a bicycle. I was on a train last night. It's 4:30 at Hunters Point, getting picked up in Jamaica. Guy gets on with a bicycle. Conductor didn't say anything. I mean, if I was the conductor, that train would have stopped at St. Albans or Valley Stream and says, here's the Sunrise Highway, ride it on out. Didn't say nothing. And this guy brought the bike into the main aisle, and the downstairs with double decker, and had it sitting next to his seat. The conductor made him move it and put it up, on the main level, with a
Shouldn't
handicap
have to
area.
begin with.
But that bike should never have been on the train to begin
Yeah,
with.
but what is the conductor supposed to do? Well, what's the instructions?
Well,
What's
he
the
should
plan?
have, he actually.
No, I'm
should have
asking you,
looked-
Jerry, but
yeah.
I'm asking,
I
I
mean-
just wonder, okay.
What's the
Someone gets on with the
process?
bike, maybe the conductor didn't see, and now he's walking down the aisle, not train's moving, guy with a bike. We don't wanna stop the train, throw him off in the middle.
Are they asked-
Or even
are they
throwing him
asked
off,
to get
throw him
off on
off
the
the
next
next
stop?
stop?
I would think generally, if it's rush hour
Yeah.
without a permit, and also like if, on weekends
Yeah.
it's different with a permit, but during rush hour, one would think that they would be, supposed to be enforcing it.
Yeah.
Whether they do or they don't, that's something I just have to take back and say, hey,
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
are we addressing this? Because now that the weather's nice.
I was just
I
gonna
mean,
say,
it's
it's
becoming
weather,
more
and that's
and
why
more
there's the
popular.
increase
More
in
of
it.
it.
It's
We've been
it's becoming
encouraging it in New
trending
York City.
thing.
And it was
The-
just-
the
and it was
bike
just
lanes and
last night.
everything. I'm
Yeah.
sure people coming in here
I
rather
think it was
take
also, they
their
just
bike
had the
than-
bike tour in the city with over 40,000 riders, so that could have been a reason too, that people might have been bringing their bikes into the city. I'm not saying it's an excuse,
Yeah.
but that's,
No,
might
that's
have been what it
explanation,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
we'll see.
During the bike tour, we do allow bikes on our trains.
Yes, we do
Yeah.
allow
Peak
them during
times?
rush
It's on
hour.
It's Sunday.
It's a
Well, the
weekend.
bike tours are on Sundays, no.
Yeah.
No, this was.
Well, we
runs
have no
in front of
trains
my
on
house, I
Sunday,
don't
so
know.
it wasn't on there.
Yeah, don't blame more.
It's peak times is an increase of it, but
Paul Washington
to your right, there's more bike
Washington
lanes
east
and
of Huntington.
the city's encouraging more bike riding.
It's a trending, so I think that we just have to revisit it and how the railroad is enforcing it, and I
Or
will go back.
encourage these collapsible bikes or, things that
Sure.
are allowed, or market, get your permit, and you can only use it during off-peak times,
Yeah.
like,
Just that the trains are so crowded now anyway, if you add a bike onto it, it rises tension, people get over it. And then
It's
just-
also dangerous.
There's a lot of people that are upset. Getting on and off the train, going around the bike.
but now that the weather is nicer, this is a good time to market the do's and don'ts of bringing your bike.
Bike rack on
on.
the outside of the
Right.
village to the train.
And I will
On
say,
the back, yeah, on the back,
I will say one
buses.
thing,
The
I will say
buses.
one thing that Connecticut
buses.
tried a couple of different designs for bike racks on the M9s, which are pretty close to, gonna be, or M8s, which are gonna be pretty close to the M9s, and they never found anything that really worked well. you know.
I saw two guys get on one time and they took up their bathrooms with them. They put both of their bikes in there and then they sat in the seats next to it. So now,
That's just unsanitary.
yeah, people went to, now your restrooms
This
out
should, this should be good in those bathrooms.
That was their, they got their own
Recently,
punishment.
I was on Washington Bridge, I actually used a bathroom, but I won't say any more about that. I do avoid them.
I have a question. Are we in like,
I don't know.
Sure, go ahead, go ahead,
comment?
go ahead.
Yeah, why not?
You know, I had a lot of difficulty hearing about the last 15 minutes. Somebody that was on the phone was riding on the train or driving in the car with a lot of background noise, and all I heard was but the question I have deals with, I guess it's to Hector or Bill, deals with the fact approaching trains that are approaching a platform, and I know what the response is going to be, that neighbors and residents don't like the horns blowing.
Oh, but they should blow.
I mean, we really need to have some warnings for folks who can't see those trains coming.
No, yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point, not just, yeah, because you don't necessarily.
We just
Yeah.
built announcements
Yes.
1,000 feet before train approaches, announcing that train's approaching the station, and then 1,000
Train
feet
approaching,
after
stand
it
back.
departs. So it basically announces now, they put timing points so that as trains approach the station, there will be a audible announcement.
We'll have it at every station?
At every station.
There you go.
Did Mike hear that? I don't think I heard that.
Yeah, Mike, did you catch that?
Hello, Mike?
No, I didn't quite hear that.
Yeah, Mike, we just installed timing points at all of our stations. 1,000 feet before the train approaches the station, there's a timing point that'll trigger an audible announcement, letting people know that that train is now entering the station. And then when the train departs 1,000 feet afterwards, it'll then trigger an announcement.
I'm sure you don't hear it.
This has to do with the trains blowing through. I mean, we waited at a train station that has, I particularly waited at a train station that has a lot of trains that kind of come through on express through, and we don't know they're coming. And,
So is your trigger only when the train is stopping at that station, or passing through? Because I think his concern is more the train
I'll double check
passing
that.
through.
I'm not sure a flyer is going through, whether there's an audible announcement. I think
It's supposed to be-
Because it's not going to say it's stopping here, so is it
Right,
saying, please step back, train passing through? Is probably where the opportunity is.
If they get different aspects, that'd be good, because when it's going through, it's going much faster than when it's stopping.
And they don't expect it.
yes. When do they begin? When do they begin operation?
The timing points, they just installed them recently, so
Yeah.
maybe within the last few weeks.
Oh, so the announcement should be going on now? At the station?
You should be hearing audible announcements. They're building the countdown
Yeah.
clocks, and so for that to work the way it's supposed to, you want something that triggers,
Right.
and then you want something that clears the clock, so that they installed those timing points prior to starting the testing.
Is that why the signs changed from
Yeah.
status
To ETA.
to ETA?
Yes.
As part of the